But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back, so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. By the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. Man, you know? And nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on, the fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Q Lounge. It's a Shady Groove. What a couple of days we have had. I mean, an amazing couple of days here on the Q train, guys. He is really going to start now. I think that the pressure is being felt all around. Everyone is feeling the pressure. The media is feeling the pressure because nobody's believing it anymore. We're feeling the pressure because we feel like we want to expose it faster and faster, but it's going. It is moving. All the guys, this wonderful, amazing community that is the QAnon group, they are just stellar. Stellar. Some of the best people I've ever met in my life I've come in contact with through my research and meeting people and the Discord for the last 6-8 months that this has been going on. It has just been amazing. We are all learning together at the same time, in real time, and It's never happened before. We've never had the ability to communicate before the radio and the television. We weren't really communicating like this. People were staying there in their communities. Things were more grassroots, more local, more smaller scale. But now, man, with the internet and with our ability to move information around right under their noses, sharing information. This guy, George Carlin, shout out to him, and he was so far ahead of his time. He had so many of us woken up a long time ago. Didn't really have to say too much other than, hey, pay attention. Pay attention. Look what's going on around you. Not good. It's a big club. You're not in it. Oh, isn't that the truth? Well, I did come on last night, and we went over a bunch of the drops, and we went over some Q symbolism and different things like that. And um, he would actually made some more drops while I was broadcasting, and then after I went off the air, he made some more drops and really antagonizing this whole narrative thing and really antagonizing the plan. You know, there's been pieces of this that haven't necessarily been put out on the boards, haven't been put out to us because I feel like Q Team wants some people to think that he doesn't know things, right? He doesn't put out the information to us, then maybe he's not. So he hasn't really talked about the idea of therapists being specifically the ones that are running this whole show here, right? All the false flags, all the unstable people. Boy, that sure would be hands-on contact. Sure would be. So I want to look at these the couple of drops that came in last night. Kind of later, we have a couple of articles here that I want to go over and read you these drops real quick. The show I did last night, we kind of got through most of these up until the point where it looks like he started to have some technical errors with the boards. It looks like the 4chan boards and 8chan boards have been getting hit pretty hard since Q dropped the Freemasonry symbol, pointed us to the idea that, oh, how convenient that CNN always has some guy with a Freemasonry hat or a square and compass on his neck on their necklace. It's interesting. They're putting him right in front of us. They're putting it right in front of us, thinking that you're not going to notice. They're taunting you. And you're waking up and it's not working. They're taunting you. You're waking up and it isn't working. Remember, like we said the other day, peace is the way they lose. Peace, they lose. War is a racket. Peace, they lose. No more war. That's exactly what we're trying to back up here. So we want to go over a few of the things with the Q drops here. Q's been pointing us to fake news through the whole duration of this, and really giving us the idea of this to have a breathing period between the time a news article comes out and the time that you make a decision about the slant on it or the spin on it, right? Instead of seeing the article and making your normal assumptions about what the spin is, to let it digest a little bit, let it come in, and see is it really what they're saying it is, and look at how many different times this is played out. I mean, right now this is the 15th time that General Kelly is stepping down, and it looks like maybe he's being transitioned or something is going on. But an anon asked Q if had any comment on the North Korea facility and General Kelly, and Q says that North Korea is fake news, referring to the UK article that came out saying that Kim Jong Un was not cooperating or going on with this program, trying to go against the president's statements on that. North Korea already began denuclearization process under guidance from the U.S. Rapid. Why are people always being moved around? Think strategy, the plan, military op. Q. Start taking all this information in. So Q is telling us Haspel knows of the program but doesn't know where it is located. She needs to locate it and terminate it. Time to dig for Ramos' therapist. Q says think born, covert ops, classified, career installed, think cell, past drops go missing. Q telling us specifics about their inner infrastructure. The therapist angle hasn't really been brought up or revealed to us specifically. We've definitely gone into over a pretty good amount of stuff about the false flags, but not specifically the therapists being the ones behind them. That might be huge. Really might be huge, but really would be the front lines. I mean, to think that the therapist could be, right with a person as a handler, just like the celebrities have handlers, just like the politicians have handlers. Handlers are the people who you're afraid of, person who guides you, person you have, you take your instructions from. Sometimes the person that pays you. So Q went through a security test, then talking about the site being under attack. Info shared is highly sensitive. We really anticipated this to start coming full bore once he dropped the Freemasonry stuff, guys. That was just spectacular yesterday. Spectacular. Really helps us think we're on the same page, like around the whole circumference of the Q. Coordinated effort to ramp up pro-violent attacks on 4chan, 8chan, poll, and threads. Mods on 4chans are compromised or controlled, meaning they're allowing fake posts to be put up. They're allowing real posts to be taken down. They're taking down real posts, making the whole board really hard to understand, putting up things that no one really wants to see for new people trying to come there and look, different stuff like that. Staged to frame pro-president supporters. And we're going to go through a little bit of this, the pro-president supporters and some of the, how fast these guys are. This news media, man, this mockingbird clown media, they are fast. Fast. They waste no time. No story is to be wasted. No tragedy is to be wasted. Every tragedy should be used to push an agenda, not to discuss what the problem is. Push the agenda, what we want done already. You want to push violence, well, you're seeing that, right? You're seeing that with Maxine Waters. Our opposing presidential candidate Hillary Clinton was asked about the violence ramping up in the United States today, and she said, "Give me a break. Give me a break." That's a sign. That's a sign that we are all out of options. They are backed into a corner. Share Blue coordinated RL attacks link cause and effect. Mainstream media outcry to force action. It's already begun, small to large. Then he gives us this Huffington Post article. Celebrate the dark parts of internet. Celebrate Capitol Gazette shooting. Anticipated goal. Ready, David. Q. This is the article. Dark parts of the internet are celebrating the Capitol Gazette slayings. So this is posts from 4chan being used now in the mainstream news. They're trying to set up the boards for being disinformation or not a credible source. Here's Laura Loomer. They're also citing her. She was the person who got the video of Maxine Waters sticking her tongue out while her goons were pushing her off the elevator. And she has decided to move forward with a suit for assault, and she is really coming under fire from all angles. What would happen if someone assaulted her? You know? Does it turn about fair play? But immediately, this is within a couple of hours of the shooting, 6:27 yesterday evening, already. Almost like this story was written. Like they knew what was going to happen. Crazy as that sounds. Because they did. They did it on purpose because of the Rosenstein hearings yesterday. What happened yesterday? The full weight of the House now wants this information and these documents that he's been hiding. And I have seen some smug people testify before Congress, but this guy, this guy takes the cake. I mean, this guy takes the cake. Mr. Jordan started asking him questions yesterday, and within 10 seconds, Rosenstein is pointing at him. And then he makes the statement that I'm the Attorney General of the United States. Like, duh. That's what the sign says. We know who you are, bud. Is that a threat? Sounds like a threat. This guy sat there and said that he's not in charge of redactions. He's not in charge of redacting the information about Bruce Orr, who was 2 doors down from him. working his wife, Bruce Orr's wife, Nellie, working with Fusion GPS while they're heading up an investigation that's based on information brought to them by Fusion GPS that came through Christopher Steele and a Russian dossier. Da da da. Are you kidding me? We're not swallowing this, guys. Even mainstream people, normal people that have no clue about what we're talking about with Q, they're not swallowing it. Your parents aren't swallowing it. Your friends aren't swallowing it. And the ones that are choking on it. Choking on it. It's coming right back around to them. So the full vote, what vote occurred today, full weight of the House, why is this relevant, provides supportable grounds for deadline. That means the whole Congress now. It's not just the select committee, it's the whole Congress is voted. And they also walked out. They walked out of the hearing yesterday of grilling the FBI director, the Attorney General, to go across the hall and make a vote to have all this stuff handed over to them for the full weight of the House. So this is the stage being set. This is what the stage being set means. We have to release this stuff organically. We have to release the stuff the right way. We're not going to have anybody crawling around and getting around in loopholes. In other words, loopholes are being shut off from access. So then the good one. Someone posts an article on America.org Politics by Brock Dorsey. With a mention of Corsi, huh? Bullshit meter off the charts with this one. You're not kidding. But is this an anti-Q article? Really? I don't know. Q says, we are waiting for a reporter to ask the ultimate question. What is the ultimate question? Excuse me, Mr. President, who is QAnon? What could he say then? What are they waiting for? They can end this at any time simply by asking the president, right? We may have to force this one. And think about that. They can end this at any time simply by asking the president. We got all this media, all these stories and media that are going against Q, and they're pretty prevalent as far as, how many there actually are. We're going to have to force this one. That means they're ready for somebody to ask him. They're wanting someone to ask him. And this article here by Brock Dorsey, now just think about that for a second. Brock Dorsey, David Brock, and Jack Dorsey. Interesting. And this article goes through and explains the QAnon story. Talks about the left-wing propagandists ranging from the Vice to Newsweek. Those faithfully trusting in Q to lead the overthrow of the evil deep state cabal, restore American democracy to the people may be missing a much darker purpose for the QAnon post. Used as a highly efficient propaganda tool, Q's drops may actually be aiding an attempt to dismantle the judiciary altogether. Could it succeed in pushing this distrust across the public through the oft-cited Great Awakening? This narrative may actually serve to weaponize Americans into removing the only barrier left to toppling democracy and clearing the way for the emperor to ascend to the throne. That is, of course, assuming that a coup d'etat has not already taken place. You see that? A coup d'etat? Now, I don't know. This could be a plant story, guys. This may be a plant story, just to get people talking. It's coming from a person that doesn't seem to have any credentials, coming out of nowhere on an obscure site and dropped to us by Q and then spread around like that. So, read a couple more here. It says, thanks to the perfect storm of recent disasters ranging from James Clapper's NSA spying and perjury upon question of it, to former FBI Director James Comey's destructive letters to Congress about reopening the Clinton email case, Deputy Director Andrew McCabe's contradicting testimony, all of the horrors of the recent IG report and DOJ's complete lack of prosecution of any of these crimes, the entire foundation of our intelligence agencies and judicial department is weak and may easily be toppled. Public has lost faith in our judicial department and has lost faith in our intelligence agencies. That's true. We have. We have lost faith. Because they've turned the gun on us. They're directing it towards citizens, people. We're fed up with it. We're all fed up with it. People have been attacked by the IRS. People have been attacked by the Department of Justice. People have been attacked by the FBI. People have been attacked in the military for taking pictures in a submarine. Jerome Corsi makes an appearance in this article. Go check it out. I'm going to read the whole thing, but up is down, down is up, left is right. Not all as it appears. So that article, and then we may have to force this one, was the last sentence there. That's good. And then we got a really interesting drop last night. This one will really get you going for people out there who are looking for some results with this. And Anon says, I almost hope they don't ask. It would be fun to watch them try to manage the spin when 90% of the country is aware of you and all that you've been shining a light on while the mainstream media still won't acknowledge it or can't acknowledge it. I can see them squirming now. Boy, can't you see them squirming. Q says, it must happen. Conspiracy no more. Think of every post made. It would force us to prove everything stated to avoid looking crazy, correct? What do they fear the most? Public awakening? If they ask, they self-destruct. They know this is real. See attacks. The build is near complete, growing exponentially. You are the frame. You are the support. People will be lost. People will be terrified. People will reject. People will need to be guided. Do not be afraid. We will succeed. Timing is everything. Think Huber. Think DOJ, FBI, reorganization. Think sex and child arrests. News. Think resignations, loss of control. How do you remove evil in power unless you reveal the ultimate truth? Can't. You cannot. It must be compelling to avoid a divide, political attack, and optics. We are the majority and we're growing. Worldwide sheep no more. Whew. Hey now. That is fascinating. Really is. Coming to your community, it's coming to your town, it's coming near you. Whether you know it or not, it's time to take the country back. And that's what we're on the brink of. No one knows timelines, but it does seem like things have been expedited. Especially with all the push for the media. Your Snopes. Billboards promoting 4chan conspiracy theory QAnon pop up across America. Billboards next to Georgia and Oklahoma highways reference a farcical and ill-defined deep state conspiracy theory, but who's paying for them? Why does it matter who's paying for them? If it's Snopes here, why aren't they asking the question are the things Q is revealing true or not? Why don't you solve that before you worry about who's paying for the billboards? Seems like reverse journalism. No investigation tell you what to think. No investigation tell you what to think. No investigation tell you what to think. Over and over and over. And the internet presents it because, site looks nice. Snopes. Oh, so is Snopes. Go look into who owns this website. Go look into what their financial troubles are. Trying to raise money on GoFundMe. Because the deep state's pockets are getting slim. I'm not choosing control of sites like this. Not Republican or Democrat. Again, not Republican or Democrat. Right and wrong. Truth. So with all those posts yesterday with the Freemasonry symbolism, scroll back down here. Guys with the hat, guy from the Santa Fe shooting with the necklace. This symbol, Q, dropped. And then all the stuff from the media saying, oh, when will someone ask the president? The media was sure paying attention. The mainstream media isn't missing this, everyone. The guys you see on TV are not missing Q. They're not like passing over it, or it's not making it into their circle of information. That's not what's happening. Actually, what's happening is they're freaking out because they have no idea how to handle it. No one wants to be Arkansided first. So we're on the cusp. We're at the event horizon where information meets the mainstream. We're on the cusp. So today, news today, other than the shooting and different people reporting stuff on Twitter and it getting passed around that, there was a Make America Great Again hat found. Well, that wasn't true. All these other stories going around about how it's Trump's fault. Jim Acosta standing in the back of the room today screaming at the president, are you going to tell people to not take it out on journalists? See how they work this? What if you have a therapist who has an unstable person who has an axe to grind against the news organization that he used to work for, one person specifically who wrote negative stories about him in the newspaper, that he would post things on Twitter with symbols over the guy's face? Interesting symbols too. Like the symbol that Q dropped yesterday. This one was on the one of the persons the shooter targeted head in his Twitter feed for the shooting. Symbolism. So this is what the country's internet looks like. Comcast, anyway. Connected? Coincidence? Most of the day, the internet being down on the East Coast, the West Coast, all the populated areas. Cables were cut, guys. Fiber cables were cut to cause this outage. Do you think that the clowns and the Mockingbird media were anticipating a big drop today and they were trying to make the impact as less hurtful to them as possible? That's what we all think. That's what all of us think. Anything to distract from what the president is actually doing. And we cannot let the information that Q is giving us hit the mainstream. Because now there's been a threat made. There's been a threat made that we want you to ask. Because if you ask, we'll tell you the truth. We'll point you to the boards and to all the proofs that have been built and memed and consolidated and organized and stored offline. Stuff's not just sitting there on the internet. They can take the internet down if they want to. The information is there and we all have it. If there's electricity, your computer is going to come on and you're going to have the information. So we have this super big outage all day, and then we get this tweet from I the Spy, which is very interesting. The CTBB is the stock name of CenturyLink. Their cables were cut, causing the internet outage across the country. Now we look at this. This is post 1600 from Q. Just a couple of days ago. Was telling us about false flag intentions and said that chatter and trains and buses be vigilant. Wow. Look at this. CTBB right there. January 27th. Q drop January 27th. Day before yesterday. And there were a lot. There were a lot that day. There it is. Chatter, trains, buses, be vigilant. In the context of today's news, strikingly relevant. Right? Here's a letter sent from the House of Representatives. Recommending some people come out and testify in open court, open hearings. Bravo. Double bravo. This is going to be fun for you guys. If you think Rod Rosenstein was a squirmer today or yesterday whenever he was testifying, where do you see these people up there? Look at all the people that have left the FBI already. Baker, McCabe, Comey, Peter Strzok. And now here's a whole nother list of people that need to come testify so that we can get them weaving and meandering their lies back and forth under oath. Catch them lying a couple times under oath. That's all we need to do. The irritation of Rosenstein yesterday, I think, is off-putting to all Americans. I think it's disrespectful. I think it's disingenuous. And I think he's hiding everything.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Jordan, for 5 minutes.
Did the FBI pay Christopher Steele, and was the dossier the basis for securing warrants at the FISA court to spy on Americans associated with the Trump campaign? Really, when you sum it all up, it boils down to those fundamental questions. Did you pay the guy who wrote it? And did you use what he wrote, disproven, discredited dossier paid for by the Clinton campaign? Did you use it to go get warrants to spy on Americans? That's what it comes down to. And you're the guy who can answer those questions. And yesterday I was convinced that the answer to those questions was probably yes, but today I'm even more convinced the answer is yes, based on the text messages we got to read early this morning. Mr. Rose.
I actually think that one was from a different day. Wasn't the one I thought it was. They all feel threatened by him. They feel like that he threatened them with personal investigations just because he can. I'm not sure he didn't. He says he didn't. Do you believe him? So everything is getting pushed away from this story. Everything. So you need something to distract. And then all of a sudden, you have this huge story about our attorney general being a liar in open court under oath. And then all of a sudden, you have a mass shooting. Once we set this up and go back over the history and the timeline and see what these guys are up to behind the scenes right at the time that these shootings occur, you're going to see that it's almost always to cover up bad news for the cabal. Consistently there, cover up bad news for the cabal. Americans are dying. Iranians are dying. People around the world are being misled, and they're waking up from their dream. They're waking up from this world of entertainment and convenience. Convenience in American society was once demanded. Now it is mandatory. It's hard for you to work outside of quote unquote convenience. Sometimes convenience goes against common sense. We start to think about that. Look at these other stories that are in the news now. National health care fraud takedown. 600 defendants charged. $2 billion in fraud and losses recorded. You think this doesn't come from Obamacare and slush funds? And what is Obamacare but a slush fund? They were falsely raising the prices of medicine and taking everything that's in between. You guys know how much they're selling these pills for in other countries compared to here? Why is that? Are they on your side? This fraud is immense. It permeates all structures in government. When you say drain the swamp, you have no idea what we're talking about here. Everything's set up specifically to go against an elected administration because he's dismantling the scheme. He's exposing the scheme. When is it never a man behind the curtain? It's always a man behind the curtain. We want truth. I promise you that any patriot that is out there that is excited to be led by Donald Trump in the current atmosphere of America will not be excited to be led by Donald Trump if he starts shredding our Constitution. If he starts to shred our ability to speak and our ability to own firearms and our ability to address the government with grievances and our ability to have freedom, those restrictions are not going to go unnoticed by us. I'm not going to miss it. The man ran a campaign against this swamp and he won, and he is holding up his end of the bargain. And at the moment that he doesn't hold up into his end of the bargain, patriots will turn on him. I think he knows. I think he is a patriot. I think he knows exactly what he's doing, and he has no intention of taking us down some totalitarian nightmare. Remember, the Nazis built fences to keep people in. Whenever you want to call the president a Nazi for trying to protect our border to keep drugs and traffickers and gang members and felons or the people that Mexico doesn't want from coming across the border as they wish. You talk to any person who came here through the immigration program of America the proper way, and I will guarantee you, all you snowflakes out there, that they do not believe in open borders. We don't believe in open borders. Show me a country that believes in open borders. Are you kidding me? One. Here's the guy's head picture that our hero plastered on his face, on his Facebook or his Twitter or something. So the shooter yesterday had a Twitter account with this picture on this guy's head just plastered on there. Learn your symbology. Think about symbols. Think about the movement of energy and what is actually happening here. There's good news everywhere, but the bad news is the only thing that makes the headlines. Department of Justice criminally charges 76 doctors, 23 pharmacists, 19 nurses, raking in billions in medical fraud. Fraud. The American Medical Association was designed and instituted by the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. I don't want to say that again to make it clear. The American Medical Association was designed and instituted by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers to prevent you from understanding anything to do with the way your human body actually functions. The food pyramid is BS. Their instructions on what levels of contamination that you can take into your body are BS. The tests that they do on products to make them approved for human consumption are BS. The whole system is a fraud. No one's trying to cure you. They are not trying to cure you. They are trying to make a profit. Not just the doctors, not just the pharmacists, not just the nurses, but the media. Right? It's a fraud. They're not telling you the truth. Q is bringing us to a centered point where we can maybe learn the truth. And we're trying to learn the truth together. And stories like this that do not get reported are proof that we're not being listened to. Do the research. Do you feel like that your doctor wants you healed? Or they just want you taking more medicine? What if there were books and books and books and books and books written prior to the American Medical Association that healed almost everything known to man? What if there was no cancer? Very rarely was there cancer pre-1900. Why are we so sick? Is diabetes really a disease? Or is it actually a result of what you eat? Think about the metaphor with the media and what you consume. If you're consuming food that is not good for you or toxic for you, and it is making you sick, what does consuming news and information that is toxic to you do? Same. So we're close to the 4th of July here. And the Q movement is steamrolling. The Q movement is steamrolling hard and fast towards the truth, towards the future, towards everyone being abundant. All of us having abundance. What if you could work one job? What if as a man of the house you could work one job for simply 35 or 40 hours a week and have full benefits and no one else in the house has to work? And not only do you pay all the bills, but you accrue a savings. And then you put that savings away and then you can do extra stuff with it. And then all of a sudden we're all moving around and traveling and visiting places and making the country more like what we are inside, as opposed to the country currently being run by the controllers. So I wanted to shift gears here real quick. I want to do a little bit of a segment on this Q clock here, and so I pulled up one of the pictures that is kind of a little bit of an outline of what this thing is, what you're looking at. We are so fascinated by this. I mean, this is just fascinating. So what you're seeing here is dates going around the clock. And this actually starts here at the 12 o'clock middle on 12/7. You see 12/7, and right above that you see 17, 19, 2, 5, 4, 6. So what this represents are the blue dots represent Q drops. Time clock is going this way, going clockwise. So the right side is the way the hands are turning. I didn't have the picture up there. Sorry, guys. Now I see. Just realized the picture wasn't up. So the clock here is going to work from left to right, and the dates going around started on 12/7, which is the Q drop that says time to start the clock. Going back left of the center mark are the dates previous to start the clock. So the dates in gray circles here are the dates that preceded the start the clock days. The blank days are days there were no Q drops, and the president's tweets have been added to them. So the numbers that are right above the date are the number of Q drops and the number of tweets from the president. And this thing is really intricate because these drops are lining up in a way, and we're not really sure exactly how they're lining up, but we're following the clock around, and some things are really hitting on specific times. Pretty cool. Different dates to go around the clock every 60 days. Comes back to the noon hour. Q has said wind the clock. Q has said clock starts now. Q has said mark or to take note of the markers and different indications that sort of lead us back and forth on this clock to hoping that we'll understand it, but we're actually thinking that it's not understandable just yet until the plan is a little bit further along. But it's very, very interesting, and it's something that we're going to be spending some time on here more in depth when we get some other people in here on the air and go back and forth and talk about the specifics and what everybody's learning about this. The clock could be backwards. Think mirror. What if we're looking at the clock from behind? Then it's going to be different. All these kill boxes that are on the minute numbers are probably relevant. Multiple hands on the clock, relevant. Super cool. And so this is what I think we're thinking Q means by future proofs past. So this clock is going to somehow line up the different posts from the past, maybe seaming them together to make full posts or different news stories playing out ahead of time. This is how we're going to be able to red pill people who think that this Q movement isn't relevant, or it isn't really happening, or it isn't really coming from where we say it's coming from. Future proofs past. Stories will line up with Q drops. And with all the anon research that has gone on the boards, there is very little room for untruth. They're finding all the crumbs, finding everything. They're amazing. The autists on 8chan. The hive mind that's been created in all the discords and communities. People that we would never think about, that we end up talking to in chat rooms that have similar experiences that we do, bring us together in a way that help ourselves realize things. Not necessarily helping someone else realize something, but hearing someone say something that helps yourself realize it. That's what we're doing. We're trying to wake ourselves up. The more awake you are, the easier it is to transfer information, and the more awake you are, the easier that your frequency will allow someone else to feel comfortable enough to ask a question. Remember, we're rigid. As Americans, we're taught to be rigid. We're taught that you know everything. You're given this school system and this time, and you know everything. You're 18, 19, 20 years old, you know it all. We told you everything. So if you leave that position and you don't go back and look to what you did or didn't learn and be objective about it, you're stuck there. And so the people that are stuck in that program are no better or worse than anyone else. They're just simply unaware. They haven't been exposed to the information. Do not think less of them. They haven't had your experience, but I'm sure their experience that they've had would complement your experience if you come together and find that your differences are actually the things you're learning about yourself. They're represented there. And we're moving so far, so fast. No one's going to be able to keep up. None of us that are digging on this stuff every day are keeping up. We are holding on to a rope that is dangling by a hot air balloon that just goes and goes and goes. It's immense, the speed of this. We have patience, and we have strength, and we have courage, and we're not going away like the Pizzagate people. You're not going to be able to shove this story underneath the rug with some Russian collusion. Think about that. How long have you been under the liberal blanket of Russian collusion? Whether you believe it or not, we're under that narrative. It isn't a few people. It's most of our media, most of the newspapers, most of the news organizations. Russia, 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 Russia. Crazy town. Well, meanwhile, the president literally takes strides to help Americans and takes moments to look at Americans and takes moments to go to rallies and talk to Americans as a person up there, as a human being up there. And to set this up, to give us this insight, was paramount. All of us who have been working with this, it was paramount to have us be justified, to have our position in the world understood. We're not coming, a lot of us aren't coming to new conclusions who are in this Q movement. A lot of us were here already. We didn't specifically have all the details, but we were here waiting, and we weren't people that jumped right on a Q bandwagon when Q first came out. Everyone was skeptical. All of the autists and conspiracy analysts, we were all skeptical, just like we're skeptical about every single news story that comes out. And we're seeing a change, and we're seeing positive forward motion. That's real. Real for all of us. Q has told us time and time again, learn to read the map. The future proves past. Expand your thinking, and then expand your thinking further. It's going to be an amazing ride. We're going to win this. This is a little update from today, but it's going to get more intense. There's going to be more stories, there's going to be more people, and there's going to be more attempts at division. There may be more shooters. There may be more false flags of other sorts, like what happened in Vegas. We don't know. But they're pulling out all the stops, and I promise you, the right people for the job of taking this cabal down are in place. And losing isn't an option for any of us. Not an option. I'm going to refresh here, see if Q's been busy while we've been talking. But after those drops yesterday, we're kind of anticipating he might take a break for a second because the boards were really lit up. And everybody was really excited. The energy last night was off the charts. Look into the pharmaceutical reality. You're taking medication. Be skeptical of what it is you're taking and how much it is that you're paying for it. And start to use your voice to say it's unfair. Not unfair that you have to take something. It's unfair what they're charging you for it because they know an insurance company is going to cover it. So they can charge you whatever. It's a big scam, a big kickback scam. It's very important to pay attention to the news, the real news. To wake up from being led. Lead yourself. Research. Use the internet to research. use your momentum if you're part of the Q movement to bring your friends to the discussion. Don't push them away because they don't understand. Bring them in. Find common ground. It's fun to disagree. There's people out there you're not going to agree with, but the lines are being drawn between reasonable and unreasonable. And a large majority, believe it or not, of the people showing up at Trump's rallies are independents and Democrats. There is going to be great strife whenever the people that believe in these politicians and the people that believe in Hillary and the people that believe in Barack Obama, whenever these figures fall. You're privileged to inside intel. You're privileged to the most intriguing spy story ever. Keep it up. We're going to be back in 2 days, Sunday night at 8. Love you guys.